Yeah, so the tire that the teams and the drivers don't know what tire they are testing, and that's on purpose. Pirelli has done this before. This is typical of Pirelli. So they ask teams to run the tire and do perform work on that tire in a particular way, but they don't know exactly what type of tire they're testing. And we'll find out pretty quickly where that is. Again, these are tires that they will potentially end up being the compounds for next year, 2025. Would be nicer if Bridgestone came. I don't know why you would not want another tire manufacturer. That brought chaos when we had two tire manufacturers before. I don't. There's no marketing benefit for F1 for having two different tires. So they just turned green light, I believe. No, another few seconds before they go green. So I'm looking at right now. Got people for Williams, for Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren. Okay, they just put in a piece in they'll be running C4, C5, C6. So that would be a new prototype. So if that would be a fat no, new soft tire. Why is it the timer saying 130? Because it's a 90-minute session, Dr. Has not started yet. Yes, this is going to be a 90-minute session. So strap in, have fun. We've got 90 minutes to go. And Norris is going to be the first one out. And he's on prototype tires. And then they're all going to be on prototype tires at this moment. And notice that Norris, Alonso, and Joe were Hamilton and Leclerc were the five drivers out already. Norris, Alonso with the first three out. Hamilton is in that pit lane out. See where Clerk comes out. We're just being told that they're running prototype tires, but we're not necessarily told which tire that may be. Uh, the tire history is not going to be helpful because they're going to be on prototype tires. Well, yeah, we don't want crashes upon people. Not allowed. We have standards here. Thank you, YZ, for pointing that out. CT asking how everyone is. Hope all good. Good over here. It's warm where I'm living right now. Got some Hamilton fans. Norris is going to be all purple because he was the first one out. So by default, he is going to set purple laps. People pointing out they're still working on Albon's car, and that is to be expected. I mean, Landers out on a flying lap to begin with, so. Gasly's taking that first sector. We'll see as people come out. Bottas has potential to take that first sector. See, he does. So Lando's going to finish with sector 1, sector 2, 119s out of the gate. So putting a line in the sand pretty quickly. Perez is out on track. Oscar's on track. Sano's also on track. Stroll is entering the track. So we've got, and now Science. So we got 12 on track. Still 8 in the pits. Science coming out on track. Again, we're waiting for times to start populating. Bottas takes top billing, 119.150. Perez does 119.056. So FP2 is an interesting piece of it. We'll get a good amount of information because this will be more representative of what we'll see tomorrow during qualifying and in the race to a certain extent. What does T stand for? Their prototype tires. So we don't know which. There's 3 prototypes for C5, C4, C5, and then a prototype C6 for next year. So we are looking at potentially having a prototype tire, C6 tire that's softer and potentially faster than the current C5. That's what that mean. We used to have a C0. That was we got rid of our C0 from last year. People weren't using the C0. It was too hard, too slow, and so they created a new C1. The current C1 was the difference between the old C1 and the current C2, and that has improved. The performance has improved. They are using that C1 tire where they didn't use the C1 previously. No, Tony. Pirelli does care about making better tires, because the cars are changing. One of the things that we want to put into perspective is that last year they actually rolled out what would have been this year's tires much sooner because basically the cars were putting more downforce and into the car and into the tires than they expected, and they were also going faster than expected. So that was a big issue. The Pirelli wants to have better tires. They want the best tires in the world on these cars. You have a yellow flag, and I'm not sure what has happened yet. It has resolved, so someone may have gone off track and just come back on. No, what C6 is? It means that it's one of the tires compounds they're looking to get rid of eventually. Again, it's a prototype C6. Um, you just Science taking top billing is a 118.276. Oscar did a 119.030. Magnussen just jumped up to P6. So right now it's Science, Oscar, Perez, Bottas, Tsunoda, Magnussen, Alonso, Hamilton, Norris, and Stroll in the top 10. Lawson and Verstappen are leaving the pits right now, and the last 2 are Leclerc and Albon, who had an interaction uh, between the two. They had an incident in FP1. But says tires without blankets. They're trying to get rid of tires, the blankets, but I don't think they will be able to. And that was one of the Alpines pretending to be a lawnmower. Yeah, no, Gasly went off track and then went across the grass. It's great for your floor. Yeah, so Max still hears a weird noise in the engine, and and I think engineering is like they understand that what's going on. Max just started a flying lap. Lawson's about to come around and start his flying lap. We got Science, we got Bottas, and I think we've got that's Ocon next three. Science, is he going on a flying lap? It looks like Bottas is coming in. Ocon is going to come into the garage though. Science, it's odd. Science is doing is pushing the car. Bottas, I'm not sure he is. Hamilton just jumped to cross the line to put P4, did a 118.883. Oh, take care, Shay. We'll see you soon. Don't you show the drivers? We are. We're not in this session. We have previously. We're just in a different format for this session. Lawson just jumped to a P2 with 118.500. He was a quarter second behind, but Sainz just did a new lap of 117.089, so that pushes Lawson to P2 to 7.75 of a second behind. And who knows what tires they're on. Sainz and Lawson could be on that prototype 6, meaning again, by numbers we assume the prototype 6 is much softer and much faster than the C5. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about lap times. Again, we're on prototype tires. We're not even sure which tire type they are on. So like Colapino could be on like a harder tire, like C4 test tires. Whereas, Bottas could be on what would be a medium test tire, essentially. So I wouldn't worry until we actually start seeing actual tires put on these cars. Again, we have a longer extended free practice. Again, we're doing a Pirelli test, and I'm doing the best I can to give you information. But there's not a lot of information to give you. Again, I'm going to look at commentary for a moment. Gasly was the one who came off the first corner and rejoins across the grass. Oh, this is an interesting one. So Schwartzman is hit with a five place grid penalty despite not being scheduled to race after FP1 incident in Mexico. So what basically Schwartzman passed, I believe, Yuki Tsunoda when a yellow flag was out. I how does this affect anyone? Um, in breach, yeah. Yeah, so the I'm trying to figure out what the heck Schwartzman. That could be what happened. Oh, and we have a car who's in the Barry. It's one of the Mercedes. It's George Russell. Russell hit. Where is he? He is turn 8 into one of the Tecto barriers that has Paramount Plus and F1 branding on it. Don't know if Charles is fixed. Like to everyone, again, we are an hour and 16 minutes left in this session. Again, it's a Pirelli test session. We have had George Russell hit the barrier. He is going to be out of the session. He is clearly into this barrier. Wow, you can see the skid marks. Where do they start? Wow. Wow, that's a long skid mark. That's amazing. George skid for quite a while. Let's go back. Let's take a look at what his driver cam. Russell, he looks like he is out of the car. Yeah, he's out of the car, so he's okay. Has a medical card. Medical card will be deployed. That's by default, automatically, just by the nature of the crash. Go back. Oh, so he comes up in the curve, and he loses the control of the car, and he does basically a 360. I'm gonna look at it one more time. So he comes around turn five, 6, and goes into turn 7, and then 8, and loses control of the car into turn 9. Powering up here, he's come around. I'm watching the. I've gone back to the driver cam. He comes around, curve, and yeah, okay. So when Russell goes around the curve for I believe, which let's make sure I get the correct curve. Here's the hairpin. Straight before 7. He goes around 7 and he hits the curbs on 8. And that's just enough for him to lose control of the car and does a full 360 spin and goes into the barriers on curve 9. So again, a red flag scenario. Again, this is a red flag scenario by virtue of red flag virtual George Russell. Again, this is the Racing YouTube channel. This is Grash, your harbinger of red flags, which we just got another one by George Russell losing going over curves and losing control of the car. It's interesting that the tires are not marked. So, yeah, he will probably come back in FP3. We're looking at he just loses control. A little bit of styrofoam hit goes into the barriers and hit styrofoam and popped out onto his car. Uh, so again, that returning. George did not get on the radio back to his team, so I think he so just by the sheer force of what happened, George is going to be checked out. That's just a no brainer. Do due diligence, but they pointed out that he used both hands to get the steering wheel off. So we don't know. He did get out of his car. The question is that how much was he hurt? Was he hurt? And if so, it means FP3 tomorrow we will see maybe Kimi Antonelli jump into the car. If let's say again, like this is something like Daniel Ricciardo last year, and he's injured, we will see another driver jump in FP3. And then take over for this week. So this is we don't know what's going on as of yet. We will have more information tomorrow as we know more. So they're just doing a replay of loss of control a bit earlier, where he lost some of the control of the car but managed to recover it. This. So it looks like he's on soft tires, which means this is from another session. So we are right now waiting for the track to be repaired. Again, he went into the Tetro barrier. Yeah, guys, can we move on from tequila? Like, guys, there are kids in this chat. Anyways, so we are waiting for the track to be, and Max is not even in the car. Doesn't even have his helmet on. So right now we're waiting for the Tecpo barriers to be replaced and put back into position. And then they'll go green. Let's see. So as I was talking, as that's happened, I was talking about Schwartzman. Schwartzman has a 5 grid penalty, even though he is not racing in this weekend. So the stewards noted that the penalty is usual penalty for passing on double yellow. While the stewards recognize the driver is not scheduled to start this race, they applied the consistent penalty. We know that regarding Albon and Behrman, they were some of the stewards were over the collision, but no further action was taken. It was deemed a racing incident, which is that's more lucky for Albon than it is for ultimately. That's lucky for Albon than it is for Behrman. Again, we are in a red flag scenario. It's been about a few minutes now. George Russell went over curbs at around turn 8 and did a full spin into the barrier at turn 9. So, yeah, medical car has been deployed for George, so he can head to the medical center for checkup. Again, that was to be expected. James Ball about Albon's car. It's going to be a struggle. We had to do engine change, engine and gearbox, a lot of mechanical parts. He could keep listing out, but it's going to be a real struggle. So we may not see Albon today, given how much damage was done to his car. Which is funny. That's why we got rid of Logan Sargent earlier on. Who crashed? It was George Russell. Again, right now we're in a longer 90-minute session, so we're already in the first 23 minutes of a 90-minute session. Again, this is the Racing Juice YouTube channel. I want to thank the 184, 840 of those of you are watching right now. We've got 291 likes. We're almost to 300. If you guys can like and subscribe, now's a great time to do it. Again, we just hit 132,000 subscribers as the stream went live. This is the Racing 26 Army, as I refer to you guys as, the race fans. Again, I want to thank the family here, RS, Paula Blue, Dark Mayu. More of you here. I know Shay was here earlier. Steven Siegel is here. There's more of you earlier today. But these are the ones who are in green. Basically, they are basically throwing a few bucks each month or have been gifted a sub. These Mexican marshals seem to be struggling putting the barrier back. Not sure. Pato Award right now is here. He's going to be here. He was in Lando's car for FP1. He was at the American Grand Prix last weekend. He will be at the Brazilian Grand Prix next week. Again, IndyCar is over, so he's got nothing else to do right now other than to train. So being here as part of is that he's a great ambassador for the McLaren family, basically. Again, why is a red flag? Just got here. Basically, George Russell went over curbs at 8, did a full spin into the barriers at 9. We're right now waiting for those barriers to be repaired and then get back. Again, 10 minutes is already out. It probably won't be any data from Russell now, he was running the C4 prototype tire out there. So that's interesting that we found that we were given that information. Who was it? It was in FP1, Pato Award, the IndyCar driver from Arrow McLaren. So that's the IndyCar McLaren portion of the family. He was driving in Checo's car. So the Alpine is saying that the car, so that would be Russell's car has been recovered from the track. That's to be expected. We're waiting for the barrier to be fixed and checked before the session can resume. That is pretty much where things are at. Bear 2.0. No, McLaren aren't bad in America. I mean, uh, Lando was ahead of Max on track at Austin. In fact, Lando won, I believe, the Miami Grand Prix. So that really is really odd to say that. IndyCar Series is so sore. Yeah, part of the problem with the IndyCar Series is that they are fighting up against the NFL in the United States, and so they really do shut down faster than they should, and they've got weird gaps. Like they start in St. Pete, and then there's like 3, 4, 5 weeks, several weeks before they have their next actual race. So IndyCar is a weird place as it is right now. Guys, are you the new update? I have no clue what you're talking about. I mean, they're playing with the new tires potentially for next year, but these are prototype tires. Those track workers could be trained and they're having difficulty. Well, I mean, in FP1 they had to replace pieces of the Tecto barrier, which I haven't seen before. It means that the collision that Albon hit basically destroyed a piece of the Tecto barrier, and they basically did bring in new tech, and they're doing it again. The way that Sargent came in, he really did take out pieces of the technical barrier, and they're basically putting it back into place as we speak. So they had to get new pieces again. So that's not necessarily the workers' fault that they had to replace pieces. It may be that these techno pieces are not as resilient as they should be because they're, again, we did see one of the pieces. If you go back and look at the replay, I mean, Russell goes into the barrier, the technical barrier, and there's pieces of foam that pop out off onto his car. So they did have to. Did Russell crash the same place as Albon? Or yeah, it was different. It's not. Albon crashed a little bit further around, I believe, turn 11. So it's not the same place where, and the situation was very different. Albon had Bierman in front of him, and that was a scenario. That was a different scenario. Whereas, basically, we can go back and see that Russell goes over. Wow, that's. I'm seeing a fan dancing with a fat head, and that's really disturbing. But ultimately, basically, Russell went into the barrier differently as well. Just showing why the medical car, because this is to check, make sure that this is by rules regulation. You have to jump. They have to send out the medical car anyways. They did take Russell from the car to the medical center, and that is by default. That is typical. Now, what is not typical is that we did not get "I'm okay" from George over the radio. So that's could be more here, but I don't know. Yeah, guys, come on. This is don't be like, hey, we're calling the driver by a female name. Come on. I know. That's not even worthwhile keeping. So we're at now under an hour left in this session. Waiting for the track to get back, and right now F1 TV is showing someone playing a saxophone. That's interesting. Why is Max 18th? Because he hasn't really set a time yet. Was the crash big? It was only one car, but he went into it pretty strongly. So there will be probably, as we know more, whether or not he was, hurt or not. Not much coming in over the commentary line for F1. Yeah, I hope he's okay. I mean, I don't never like when a driver is injured. Hypocrite saying that at least 5 more minutes, and that would seem we would definitely hear from Race Control that we'll go live again. Generally did. Russell just crashed. Not just crashed. It's been about like 20 minutes now. And there we go. JH voices any crash over 15 Gs deploys the metal car, and that's an automatic deployment. Now we don't know. We know that Russell got out of the car. We don't know if he's hurt. If there's more going on. Why is this taking so long? I'm starting to worry. It's because they're working on. It's more the technical barriers. What's I'm expecting here is that they're taking, um, they are taking this free time because they're trying to do it right. Uh, 25G, not 15. We're getting on. There's a certain amount of force that above a certain value automatically brings out the Metacar. Metacar was deployed, so it doesn't. So the 25G or 15G doesn't really matter. We can find that later on. We know the Metacar was deployed. We know the Metacar did take George off the track. No, because that's the last thing. That's the last message in that category. That's why it's there. If Medical Hawker stays grounded, he will be okay. The crash, especially today, I thought the Sunday race was more serious for how many points. No. There's not points here. This is just it is free practice. Don't get me wrong. It is free practice. There's no points for these practice sessions. But again, teams typically are using this time to basically to set things up. Now today is odd because we're in the Pirelli. This is a Pirelli test session as well. He crashed turn 8-9. What wouldn't be a difference? You think it would be, but they had to replace pieces of the tech pro barrier, and that happened earlier today with Albon's crash as well. So there's something not durable with these particular tech pro pieces, and I don't know what's going on in that regards. Again, Ferrari is posted that we're still under red flag conditions as track repairs continue. So something is up with the Techco barrier here at Mexico. That this is not the track. People are putting this onto the track workers. No, this is not their fault. That was 5 minutes ago that Ferrari posted that. And there we go. So it will again. Okay, so now we're going to get back in going in about a minute now. Cars are lined up, getting lined up on pit lane. So one of the Aston Martins, one of the Haas is in line. I think the other Aston Martin is in line. I think it's Haas again. I think an Alpine's trying to get into no, one of the Haas is trying to get that into place. Then who's behind the other Aston Martin? That may be that's a okay. So it's a and we've just gone green light. So we'll go with that. Who replaced George? We don't know if George will be replaced. We don't know. We're assuming that he is okay, but there are reasons to be worried, and we don't know until we hear. So Alonso, Magnussen, Stroll, Norris, Colapino, Joe, Bottas, Leclerc. Those are the first ones out on track. I think Sainz going to be next. Oscar will be next. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Half of the grid coming out right away. And we know that we are all on prototype tires. Which those are, we don't know. Dark Mail pointing out that if George goes out, it is very much likely that we'll see Antonelli be in that car. Who is Colapino? That's the replacement of Logan Sargent. He is the Williams junior driver. So the Pirelli Motor Secretary understands that the red flag is affecting your plans a lot. We know this happens. It's difficult to predict, but I hope we can get some more information from the test as the last opportunity they have. Again, last opportunity for actual testing with these cars before next year. they make. Who crashed? It was George Russell. Is Max in his car? He is in the pit still currently. Looking at what else right now. Max is driving. He's just not out of the pits at the moment. We haven't seen Leclerc. No, Leclerc is on track. It is Albon who's the other car that we have not seen. How bad was Russell's crash? It's significant to the car. It took us a while to fix the Tecmo barrier as well. So it took like 25 minutes to fix. Lord, sorry for the main Red Bull seat. Yeah, I like the dream too. Alan's car is still preparing for F1. That is true. That is very true given how much damage he took. We have Norris jumping up to P5. Again, currently our top of the board is Sainz, Magnussen, Lawson, Oscar, and Norris. Sainz did a 117.809. On what tire, we don't know. Dark Mayo pointing out Lewis Norris joining Prema in IndyCar next year, I heard. That is the rumor, but it's not confirmed yet. Prema is joining IndyCar next year, and even that has interesting consequences of what's going on. Oscar just jumped to P2. He does a 117.877. Back to the leaderboard. And Max is now leaving the pits. He's actually around turn 5 at this point. So the only one left, obviously Russell's in the pits, and Albon is the only other one who has not made an appearance in this session. No, Russell. It's related to. It's a combination of both. Russell went over curbs and lost grip on the car, and it did a 360. And when he went over the curbs, he went over them like over the middle of the curbs. He put his middle of the car over those curbs. So that's really more on, I would say, on Russell than it is the track design. What tires do drivers use? So right now we're in a Pirelli tire test, and they're testing a prototype C4, C5, and a potential C6 compound. Normally they're rated from 1 to 5. We have seen a C0 in the past. That was eventually that tire they basically got rid of that tire because no one was using that tire. They're now testing what would a C6. That means that they're trying to eliminate another tire compound or to improve a tire compound in a particular way. He's coming out of Red Bull after talks with Horner and Mika Mealy talking about Ricardo's comeback. Dude, Ricardo's not coming back. No, that he had his chance. He is done. He's done. I mean, like, he was damaged by the fact that he left Red Bull and went to Renault, which was eventually Alpine. He then went to McLaren for 2 years, and he was damaged by McLaren. He was no longer the same driver, and he tried to come back to Red Bull, and just what that magic that was there 5 years ago was like 5, 6 years ago was gone. Someone confirmed Russell had a crash over 30G. Again, how much the force was, it did bring out the medical car for him. He did leave the track in the medical car. Yeah, guys, don't swear, please. Come on. Max again, engine problem. I've been hearing this a couple times. It's been on the radio a couple times. How much did you use with Russell? I don't know what the G force in Russell's crash in Texas, but that ended Q3. Yeah, Max is back into the pits, but that should be, that was an insulation lap. Was supposed to, it tried to be an insulation lap. Any prophecies as to Checo's future? There's no prophecies. Like seriously, what we know right now, Checo is signed. We have a yellow. So we had a yellow flag. It's been resolved back to ring. So that basically means someone went off the track and came back on, and that was in sector 2. I mean, Checo is signed for next year. The question is, do they keep Checo? And right now, the answer is yes. Now, Lawson's making a good case that he should stay in F1, and whether it is F1, what are they doing? So, one of the F1 commentators thinks it's the turbocharger that is going on the car. Again, the turbo, that's interesting because that means, I mean, the ear would be a factor with that turbocharger. That's what's pushing ear into, if I understand correctly, it's part of what's pushing ear into the car. Again, usually is Red Bull and Honda has usually been very good up in Mexico in regards to that ear. Again, one of the things that we're dealing with is because we're in Mexico City, we are kilometers above sea level, and because we're that high up, the air density is much lower. Literally, there have been records set up here in the Olympics. They don't count because the air pressure is too low in Mexico City. So, yeah, Max could be out of the rest of this session as they try and figure out what is going on with the car. It just doesn't sound right to him. He went out again 2,200 kilometers above sea level. No, I can see right. That'd be in space. It's probably 2,200 meters. But anyways, let's get back to here. So we've got an issue with Max in his power unit. He's probably going to take a. He's going to take. Yeah, they're taking the wing. They're taking the wing off. They're going to take. Yeah, the wheels are off. Yeah, Max is done for this session. They are going in and they're going to go do work on the car. Yeah, we've told you no politics. Wait. Moving on, let's get back to F1 in the chat, please. Thank you. Tony says only Yuki wants us off of McLaren. Yuki right now is in P3 with a 119.878. Yeah, really at one thousandth of a second off of Oscar's time. Clerk is the only one on track right now. Again, we are at, where are we at? 42 minutes ago. So we're halfway through this session right now. Again, everyone's around Max's garage because, we'll be the world champion when his car has issues. Charles will want more track time after missing. Well, no, I mean, it's Not that he needs more track time. It's not that we need more track. He more needs more track time. They may be trying to get more data for his team by being out. Can you see the onboards? No, you can't see the onboards. So you'd have to be a subscriber to F1 TV to get access to the onboards. I am a subscriber, and that's why I'm able to go back and tell you what has happened. The radios, we're in a format today, right now, where we're not in FP2. We're not showing the radios. And I'll be honest with you, the radio is not always useful. Yeah, it is interesting to read, but at point they will just get static and not. They don't provide a lot of information. Again, I understand why you would want them. It's just we're trying out a different layout today. Do you think it will be fixed before FP3 qualify? Yeah, because they'll work on it overnight. They'll break curfew if need be to work on that car. For those who are interested, if you wanted to see those radios on your own, we are using what's called multi-view. But to use multi-view, you do need to be an F1 TV um, subscriber. Looking out what you guys are saying in chat at the moment. Got more than Leclerc. We've got Stroll, Magazine, Stroll, Alonso, and Norris on track. Norris is coming around now. He's doing a potential fast, maybe a fast lap, maybe another. Just looking at right now. Leclerc had a great race in Austin. It's not impossible for him to be the world champion, the world drivers champion. He just needs to win every race. With that, that would be the case. All right, you're going to be very specific about what Red Bull is going to lose. Are we talking about this race? Talking about the constructors? Are we talking about the World Drivers' Championship? Like, what? You need to be more specific. Leclerc did have a good first car. So what Tony's talking about is in Austin, Leclerc got a great first corner. Basically, I know Max and Lando were fighting, and Leclerc took advantage of the fight and got around both of them, and from there led the race. So F1 says there's no update on Russell in terms of his condition. We know he got out of the car. We know he was taken to the medical center, but we've heard nothing else about his situation. Right now, what's going on? Surely Max is an engine penalty and replace the parts. Yeah, no, I mean like that. Depending on what he needs to replace, he is likely looking for a engine penalty. That's interesting that Race Statistics is saying that Ferrari has a bigger chance of constructors than Red Bull. Um, that is very true. Again, we get another good, good showing of Ferrari, which they've been doing. Um, they will move past Red Bull easily. The question is, will they get past McLaren? See, some you saying that you're here from F1 Gamer. Thank you guys. Thank you for being here. This is Rick's YouTube channel. We are at 36 minutes left to go. This is a longer session. It's a 90-minute session because it's a Pirelli test. So we're seeing all prototype tires. They would be a prototype C4, prototype C5, and a prototype longer C6. We normally don't have a C6 currently. So we're doing it. So based on numbering, I'm assuming that C6 tire is softer, and therefore will get a faster response out of the cars than the C5, which is the softest so far. Yeah, right now we're looking at Buzz and this live speed trap. He's hitting 300, 305, 307, 38, 312. He hit 314 in the speed trap. That's 195 miles per hour. So one of the things that just came across the line is that Horner just confirmed that an Abu Dhabi postseason test chance for Sonoda. So we're talking about the Red Bull, not AlphaTauri / VCarb, but Red Bull testing for Sonoda after talks with Honda. So that's interesting that we'll take a look at him based on talking with Honda. Again, next year is the last year that Red Bull will be working with Honda. After that, they are splitting. Honda now making Aston Martin their works team starting 2026. Red Bull working with Ford with their powertrain and engine going with 2026 as well. I'm being asked which driver will be on the pole. I actually have no clue because they're so close. They are so close at the top. Um, the top teams are just so packed together. Anyone makes a mistake, it can drop them just enough to drop them out of contention. And this is the Red Bull. They've just taken the floor off Max's car. So they are going hard on that car now. Honestly, it feels like Red Bull only has Yuki there to test other drivers' ability for Red Bull, and that's because they haven't felt like they could move Yuki up into the Red Bull seat. So he's been stuck in the AlphaTauri, the sister team, VCarb for years now. Randall in chat says it'll be interesting to see who state team and VCar Cash RB team choose over the 2020 season with so much new talent right now. Yeah, and again, this year you got to remember that there were no new drivers from the end of last year to starting this year. Now, granted, we did see Ricardo replaced De Vries last year, but after Abu Dhabi, when we got to the beginning of the season, there had been no changes in the drivers. Granted, we are going to see massive change next year with many drivers going out. We've already lost Logan Sargent. They're saying that Logan's. So She Talks F1 says that George released from medical center and back with team. That's good here. I have no other confirmation if that's the case, but that's if that's the if that's what is happening, that's a good sign that he's okay. Keep Paula taking off for tonight. That's okay. Again, this has been a long session. Those brakes are burning. Ooh, that's interesting. Again, another thing about braking is that they are using air to cool those brakes. So with less air, it is making it harder to, that's another factor with these brakes here in Mexico City. Gas was complaining about a smell of cooking, and now Ocon is smelling some burning in his car. Overheating is a big issue here. Again, they've got an extra fit more cooling. Alpine is experiencing issue when they're not out like pushing. So my engine is cutting. So Joe is saying that his engine is cutting, which is not a good sign, and he's reporting it to his team, and they're like, "We're looking into it," which is not good to hear as well. So we're starting to see issues with cars. Again, this is why we race here in Mexico City, because it pushes those cars in ways that other tracks would not. Colapino right now being looked at on F1 TV. See that the Europeans are cutting out early tonight. Is for them around 11 p.m., almost midnight, depending on where they are. Can someone explain what the S1, S2, S3, those refer to Sector 1, Sector 2, Sector 3? And so what you're seeing is the Sector 1, Sector 2, Sector S1, SS2 is specifically are the mini sector. So we split the track into 3 sectors, and then in that sector, each of those dots represent a subsection of that sector. So Mercedes is now reporting that George Russell is back. He's been released from the medical center and is back with the team. So that is again confirming with a source now. It's only 4 p.m. here. That you must be on the West Coast, Carmela, because it's just 6 p.m. here in Central Time. We are in the last third of this session. Again, we started over an hour ago. This has been a 90-minute test session for Pirelli. We're testing the prototype C4, a prototype C5, and a potential prototype C6 tire. Again, what is T tire? Prototype tire. Which one it is, we don't know, and I don't think the teams know themselves. We do know that George was on we saw a lockup with one of the McLarens. Which one is it? I think it might have been Oscar. Is anyone here going to watch the Quali live stream? I mean, that's going to be tomorrow, Maggie. I mean, we will have a stream for Quali. Again, what is T-tire? T-tire means essentially it's a prototype tire. We don't know which prototype tire they are on is the only thing in this scenario. Again, you are listening to the Racing System YouTube channel. We had 1 red flag already, so we are my counter is 2 right now. Though we've had 3 red flags today. You you go a month or so without any red flags, and they all show up in a bunch. Go figure. But yeah, this is Grash, your harbinger red flags, your resident professor in your F1 YouTube professor. Well, what happened in FP1? So basically, there was debris on the track, and Jimmy Angelini went over it, but they didn't do any damage to Hamilton's car. And then we had an incident between Albon and Leclerc, where sorry, not Albon and Leclerc, but Albon with Ollie Bierman in Leclerc's car. And so Albon really lost control of his car, and managed to hit Bierman in Leclerc's car. As you can see now, Leclerc is back in the car, on track. He's P4 right now. Yeah, for those who are asking about tomorrow, I will be in for FP3 tomorrow. Ryan should be in for Quali, and if he's not, then it ends up being me. I'll find out like half hour before something's up, or an hour before, as it happens, if that happens. But ultimately, Ryan is the person who is going to be in, who is our typical Quali person, and will be doing the race on Sunday. Guys have been you guys have been really pushing the line with stuff. We want to keep this really into F1. Also, hey, there are kids in chat. Can you please not be appropriate for kids? So, moving on. Again, yes, Max is going to be out of the rest of this session. He's not going to set a time, which is not going to be a big deal. He did set a time in FP1. So, if something were to happen in Quali, he would be allowed into the race already. Was it Max while we left? We don't know where the debris came from. Yeah. Vic Hope saying T Eagle, those are the prototype tires for next year that they are testing. That is correct. That's not just from Reddit, but that's also from Pirelli and F1 themselves. We know that they're using prototype C3, C5, C6 tires. Will there be an actual C6 tire used next year is another question. Yeah, I don't think tire times will be dropping at all. Given that, again, we've had some incidents already on track. We want to make sure that cars get through this. Again, they're not even testing on the tires they're going to use this weekend for the race. So rather than push things on tires that they're not going to use, they're just going to do the simulations that Pirelli is asking for. Yeah, I thought that we would, at maybe 30 minutes left to go, we would get some actual tires, but that does not seem to be the case. I want to thank the 2,100 of you who are here right now. We're almost to 500 likes. Again, that helps us with YouTube algorithm. I want to thank the new about 50 of you who have joined in the past 2 hours. Is Charles Carr okay? Yeah, Charles is fine. He's P4 right now, out on track, no issue. So it was Albon who basically hit Charles's car and then went into the barrier. In the case of Bierman, he was able to stop the car immediately on track, without having basically stop the car right away, as opposed to losing control of it. Hoping Albon will get out there. I doubt they're going to push Albon out in this session, given it's just tire testing. There's no reason to try and push and get the car out when you just where you can just take your time and get it right fully And they are going. Is that? I think that is. What are we looking at? Okay, this is Russell's car. Nope, no, this is Williams. This is Albon's car. So they're still going. Oh, they're going all ham on Albon's car. So they're not going to get this car out anytime soon onto track. She Talks F1 says Pirelli adjusted run plans due to red flag. Yeah, that's obvious. What are those T tires? Those are the prototype tires. They are mixes. We don't know we don't know which compound, but we know they are prototype C4, C5s, and prototype C4, prototype C5, and a prototype C6 compound. I know we don't normally have a C6, so it looks like Pirelli is testing a new compound that they could potentially add to the mix next year that is softer. In theory, would then be more faster than the C5 compound. Right now, we only have Leclerc and Norris and Alonso out on track. Zoe is about to come out back onto track. We've got about 20 minutes left to go in this session as we go. Again, this is the Race Disc YouTube channel. This is your harbinger of red flags, the resident professor of F1 YouTube here, Grashariza, talking with you right now. Yeah, I am an actual professor in real life. I do teach. I had to rewrite a lab this week. That was fun. What with Russell? Russell went out in the first 30 minutes when he crashed. He went over curbs on turn 8 and went into the barrier uh, at turn 9. Just hit 500 likes. Thank you, everyone. I want to thank again the 2,100 of you who are watching right now. What's interesting with the match? They think it's the turbocharger. Um, Turbo Boss. That's funny. I don't know why it's funny to me, but ultimately, basically, they think that one of the commentators on F1 TV said that they think it's the turbocharger failing on. Yeah, the turbocharger is failing on Max's car, so they've got to take the car apart basically in order to get to it. So we are seeing all prototype tires this weekend. No signs of mediums yet. So I think the five. So I think they're still doing prototyping. So again, what I expect is that there were five drivers out in FP1. That was um, Hamilton, Norris. Bring up the notepad. It was Hamilton, Joe, Charles, Lando, and Alonso. And so they have the ability to bolt on full tires and get actual testing. And they have not yet. Joe is still on a prototype tire. No one has bolted on an actual tire among those five. What happened to Max? His turbocharger looks like it's failed. They're basically taking his car apart to figure out what's the issue. Yeah, the commentary right now is saying expect extra action FP3 because this whole session ended up being um, no, something actually is wrong with the engine. We can confirm that. Yeah, what does the S1, S2, S3 part of the graphic mean? The ones with the yellow, blue, green straws. So basically, there is the sector 1, sector 2. Those are the times. Those little straws are the subsector. So we've taken the sector and broken them to subs into these smaller pieces. So we can see like the blue is basically like right now, Oscar's coming out of the pit. So his first two takes and sector 1 are going to be blue. I don't see anyone improving on their times. So everyone yellow means that they've uh, not improved in that time. Green means that they've improved in their personal time, and then uh, purple means the fastest in that subsector sector or lap uh, among all drivers. Is Max giving Lindo a 10 place head start? He could be. It depends. We'll know tomorrow on what needed to be changed, what needed to be changed, and what part of again based on the regulations, like did that force a place penalty based on that? Yeah, that was to be the previous that last lap that Charles did. You look down, the last take is blue. It means he came into the pits. What are T tires? These are just the test tires. We don't know which compound of test tire they are on. Just that they are. It is a prototype tire. We are testing C4, C5, and a potential C6 compound. When Schwarzer debut, that penalty will apply. I assume that's when it will be. It's one of those. We'll see when he actually debuts. If he actually debuts is another question because they're not seats, and he's not really. Yeah, that's the problem with this is why we need more teams in F1 because that means that opens up more possibility for drivers, new rookies to come in. I mean, when we talk about IndyCar, there's at least 26 cars on track. Um, starting each race. So there's six more seats that ultimately means that we can have more. We've got more drivers. There's more like the Indy Next. So, for example, the F2 champion has not moved up into F1 for several years now. I think Oscar was the last one, but he had to wait, set out a year. I know Drogovic is F2 champion, has not moved up. I'm trying to remember who won last year. I think it was um, Portier last year, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. He did not move up, and he was in Theo. I was in IndyCar this year. So yeah, so where F1, the F2 champion doesn't just it has to be. It's just a fluke of luck for him to move up. Mick Schumacher did move up, but that's the last one who moved up. Whereas the Indy Next champion, the feeder series just before IndyCar, has moved up every year. There's been a seat for him somewhere. They've been able to find a seat for him somewhere, and that's what those six extra seats do for IndyCar. And then there's potentially more at certain races up until again we look at the Indianapolis 500. There's 33 cars, and there's probably and we have what's called bumping. So it's not just 33 cars that's 30 cars that qualify with another one, two, three, maybe four cars that try to qualify and don't make it onto the grid. So that's a big difference between F1 and IndyCar. IndyCar we get more drivers in. There's more churn, but there's more seats for that to happen. And again, this year we had no change from the end of last year to the end of this year. Now we've got two changes so far: Lawson in, Ricardo out, and then Colapinto in, and Sargent out already. We know that maybe Lawson probably has a seat where we don't know. Colapinto doesn't have a seat as of yet, so that's another issue. Eric's asking max penalty. It is likely so. We have not have confirmation of what we don't have a confirmation on that as of yet. They're literally right now pulling the car apart and looking at what needs to be changed. Oh my God, they're doing analysis on. So yeah, F1 TV is doing something silly because there's not much else to talk about at the moment. In the pits right now is Norris, Alonso. They're the only ones who are. The rest is basically Russell, Verstappen, and Albon. Obviously, they're not coming back out on track. Well, oh man, they're pointing to believe Alonso. Alonso has a special helmet this weekend because he's starting his 400th race, which is historic. What do you think of science race pace in FP1? FP1's not representative of anything. Not really. So can't really tell you. Why does it look like Grassy's in front? Well, Oscar's in second right now, but again, this is a non-representative session because we're doing tire testing. So I'm here really more to talk about things, what's going on. They're saying that. Yeah, Vols is saying they're hardest to get Alex before the end of the session, but they're running out of time, and that's fine. They're going to get what they need out of Franco. Again, he's doing the tire testing for Pirelli, so not big. It's not going to be a big deal. How is Russell? He has left the medical center and is back with the team, so that's a good sign that he's okay and he'll be driving tomorrow and in the race. We're under 10 minutes left to go in this session. It's been a long 90-minute session. So we're about just under 2,000 viewers right now. We got 534 likes. If you would like to subscribe, now's the time to do it. If you hit the bell after subscribing, you'll get notifications when we go live. We will go live tomorrow for FP3. I'll be here for FP3. And then we'll go live for Quali tomorrow. And Ryan will be doing the Quali, and he'll be doing the race on Sunday as well. We'll be back next week as well for the Brazilian Grand Prix. And now that is a sprint weekend. So I'll be here for FP1, the sprint quality, and for the sprint next weekend. Oris is asking what tires are the tire. What they are using prototype tires. That's why we see these T's. So we don't know what exactly what compound. We know they're a mix of a prototype C4 compound, a prototype C5 compound, and what they're referring to as a prototype C6 compound, which means it would be probably something faster than C5, softer than C5. By being softer, you can get the car a little bit faster. Is basically the idea. Why haven't Max and Albon set a time? Albon has not been in. Basically, Albon crashed in FP1 with an incident with Leclerc's car, which at that time was being driven by Ollie Behrman. Rated as a racing incident, and they've just pulled the car apart, and they haven't had enough time to get it back together. And that's been verified to James Vole a few minutes ago. Max, on the other hand, has been having an issue with his car since FP1. He's got out a couple times. I think he's done like 2 laps total, like very, very low. Let me just check leaderboard. He's done 4 laps, so he's got out like twice. Went out, tried a lap, and came right back in, and he's done that twice. So ultimately, he hasn't set a time for that reason. Will FP be testing tires? Well, no. FP3 will be back to normal tires. guys, there are kids in chat. Yeah. Yeah. Come on. Like you guys, I know you guys are like trying to be funny. You're making up names, but some of them are not appropriate. Right, right. What's time? It's time with the tire management. Yeah, but again, you're talking about tire management, but we don't know what tires they're on. I mean, Norris is down on P9. What was he not given the soft tire? Zoe is out now on a hard tire, so he's the first one to be out. Sorry, medium. Thank you. So he's the first one to go out and try a different compound. Again, he was out in FP1 with a Schwartzman driving his car. So he's allowed at the end of this session, he was allowed 20 minutes ago to go out on medium tires. So we'll see where how he performs relative to the other tires, which is not saying much because that car is not very good. So is McLaren's new floor looking good? We don't know because we haven't flipped the McLaren car to see what's underneath the floor, to see the floor. So that is. Who went out? It's a McLaren. No, is it? Wait, no, it's Hamilton's. There's something. Yeah, tail on Hamilton's car. It's like a. Oh, Emerson Fittipaldi's here. That's interesting. But yeah, there's like some piece of plastic that's forming like a little tail on Hamilton's car. Why is Lando ninth? We don't know why specifically, because he's now on medium. He's gone in for medium. But we don't know what he's been testing. No, Pirelli's no. Don't think of it as a waste of time. I mean, there's a lot of things we did talk about. I mean, we did see Russell crash his car. We got a red flag, so there's that. We're 5 minutes to go right now. When this session ends, I'm just going to just point out to you that you will be taken to the FP3 stream automatically, so you don't need to go anywhere. If you like, before you go on that stream, that helps us with YouTube algorithm. Shows that you guys are eager to see FP3 for tomorrow. Again, Norris, Fernando, Joe are on mediums. The only other who can be on mediums that'll be allowed would be Hamilton, because these are the four drivers who were out in FP in FP1. In fact, there's five. Let me just go through Hamilton, Joe, Charles, Lando, Alonso. So those are the five that are allowed to go out on medium tires, and they just happen to be doing this at the very end of the session. So, I mean, what they could be doing is scruffing up these tires for like the race is one thing that we could be seeing. So that when they get out, there's more grip. The theory is there's more grip when you use the tires straight from the factory setting. There's a little bit of time before they actually start really gripping. There's that's nice shine. So the idea is you scuff up, you run them like 1 or 2 laps, scuff them up, so they go. The grip is there right away when you bolt those tires on. So that's one of the things why we're seeing it so late. We did not see mediums at all in FP1 as well. That's the other issue. Again, we've got 3 minutes to go, and it is setting. We're getting a nice view of the sun setting. Again, why is that set of time? Because he's come out to whites already. Came out of the pits and then came right back into the pits. So Norris goes P5 on those medium tires. There's an issue with Max's car. Albin has not even left the pits whatsoever. He again accident in FP1, went into the barriers, and they are still working on his car. And the same with Max at this point; they're working on his car. Russell crashed into the barriers really early on. He did 4 laps total before crashing. So Alonso goes P11 on those medium tires. And they are pulling in which one of the Haas's? Kevin Magnussen. He's already out of the car, so they're pulling him into the end of the session 2 minutes ago. So that he is done for this session. Normally, you'd see drivers come out at the very end of the session for a practice start. Yuki's out of his car, so I doubt we're going to see any practice start, if at all. If Max car broke down the race, it would be karma. Yeah, but karma happened today on Friday and not Sunday. So karma happens to be they found that there's an issue that they need to replace. So FP3 will see action. How Verstappen performs tomorrow, how Russell performs tomorrow, how Albon performs tomorrow are questions that will be determined tomorrow. Again, Behrman was in Leclerc's car, and we can see Leclerc is P4, still on track right now. And he's on medium tires as well. He's actually P4 ahead of Norris. So we got Leclerc P4, Norris P5, Hamilton P7, and Zhou P11, and then Alonso P11, and then Zhou bound P7. These are the ones that were out in FP1. They're on medium tires right now. Top of the board still Sainz and Oscar and Tsunoda on these prototype tires. Lawson is P10. So just to note that interaction. And again, Colapino is P15, but he's doing better than his teammate who has not been out today. No, in this session, I should say. And we are coming to the end. We have got 10 seconds to go. If you have any questions right now, now's the time to ask them. I want to thank the 2,000 people here. We got 562 likes at the end of this session. Again, if you haven't liked and subscribed, now's to do it. You'll get notification if you hit the bell. Again, this has been the Free Practice 2. Again, a 9-session Pirelli test for the Mexican Grand Prix for Free Practice 2. Again, this is the Racing Season YouTube channel, and this has been the Harbinger Red Flags, aka also the reigning professor for F1 YouTube. Is Lewis doing a push lap? Is he doing... No, he's not. He's not. He's not doing a push lap. He did a cross lap, but he crossed it after the fact. Again, this has been Grash for you for the Racing YouTube channel. We're about to end this session, and when you do, you'll be taken to the FP3 stream. I will see you tomorrow in the middle of the afternoon, which is odd for me because it's usually middle of the night, early morning for you guys. But no, this is in my time zone again. So I will see you tomorrow. Have a good day. Have a good night. And you'll see you tomorrow in FP3.